Good day everyone, this is 3D Create Tutorials, and I'm going to be showing you how to create this drone. So I'm actually got a sphere here, and I've created basically 1 foot by 1 foot. So basically I'm going to hit the Shift D key and actually make a duplication of the sphere and bring this up with G key on the Z and then to the right side. And I'm scaling it down just a little bit to the side here, 8.84. And I'm basically going to work the one side. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit more and then a little bit to the right here. Just trying to get this in a good placement. And kind of work this way to work around the CVs as I create these things because they become chaotic if you try to attach them up front. So I'm doing one side at a time. So now to go into CV mode, you have to hit Shift S. So let's do that. So I'm going to bring this up and basically select the top points here on the top and right about there. And then I'm going to hit the G key and bring this down. This helps me form the shape that I want to create, which makes it kind of rounded. Now the white dots are disappeared until you actually hit OK, then they come back again. So you could always keep, adjusting this if you need to, but I was good with this. So I'm going to now zoom in here and select these sections right here. Hey, just real quick, wanted to make sure everyone knows that I have 2 new classes available on Gumroad right now. The first one is totally free, which goes over the UI and tooling for beginners, and is a full course on creating this thumb drive by PNY. This class goes from beginning to end, so a great starter class for beginners. The second course that is available is creating this really cool Bork blow dryer, which is a production design model. This is also from beginning to end in creating this awesome model. This will go over some more advanced modeling skills, but light enough for beginners to intermediate learning. Both of these classes will help jumpstart your learning in this great program. So the links will be in the description below. Okay, back to the video. So one thing to do when you're trying to select the actual points, you want to select away from any points because you actually will drag those sometimes by accident. So try to move your mouse somewhere where it's an open space and kind of use that to kind of, pull across. And make sure you're on just point mode, not object mode. So let's go back to point mode. And again, select from the side left to right, and then go down. And then again, find another open space and hit the Shift key, and bring that down. And now again, I've got a lot of other things selected here, which we don't want, but that's fine. We could just bring this upward and use the right mouse and the control key to unselect them. So now I'm going to hit the G key or the scale key, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit. So I'm going to move this down a little bit more into the space, like right about here. And just to kind of give it some shape. And then I'm going to scale that section up inside that area. So now that I've done that, hit the OK. Now just hit the SS and then scale this up. There we go. All right, so now I just selected these sections here. And I'm going to remove a few of these points. So I got all those right there. And again, be careful when you're pulling something. Go ahead and undo. And I'm going to deselect some of these points here. I keep that section there. Basically 4 line sections, and they're about 5 each. So about 20 points selected. And then I'm going to go over and actually select a couple of these ones on the sides, just to give us some variation. Same with these 4 sections here as well. We've got some different forms here. So now I can pull this in, and that will give us some type of variety of look instead of just one square. So now I'm going to scale this up a little bit to give it some more tight edges. So about right about there. Now again, hit the G key, and I'm going to move this back in a little bit more. And this is really my first phase of this. I'm going to go back and redo this object. I'll add some more detail to it. So continue to watch these videos as I send them out. So I'm going to bring these points now up with the G key. On the Z, so pull that up. Sometimes your forms will take you out of bounds, so you can't pull anything else in that specific area. When that happens, I normally go back a little bit and kind of modify some things. So these could move, so that's good. So we still got some ability to move, but on the bottom we don't for some reason on that section there. So let's go ahead and continue to move some things. So I'm going to select these 4 ones here and these 4 over here. Kind of move around to see what you're looking at. It's kind of confusing a little bit, but hit the S key, and then I'm going to pull this outward so it pulls into the space. I'm also going to pull it up a little bit. Cool. I'm going to select these points here and these 2 over here. So it's 4. And it's going to hit the G key and bring this up on the Z. Again, just trying to dial this a little bit more. Bring that now into the X. I hit the OK button to accept. Let's go ahead and select a few more points over here. Tighten this up a little bit. So these 2 as well. Hit the G key. We're going to bring this down a little bit. Let's get a nicer edge here. That's what I'm going for. That looks better. I undid that one. So let's select these other ones here. And these 4 as well. Hit the G key. We're going to move this in a little bit as well. Get some variations here. There we go. Just some points that were between the other edges. Hit the OK button. So now I'm going to select these inner 4 here. So deselect these and now hit the scale key. Make sure these other 2 are also selected and hit the S key now. Let's pull those both in. Not too much, just enough. Give it a nice edge, about right about there. Hit OK. I'll select these other ones. Inside. And these 2 as well. And we're going to hit this scale key again between the 2. And we're going to bring it inward. So about right about there. And we'll bring it up down a little bit actually. Give a little bit more of an edge on the inner section by doing that. Hit OK. So I select a few more points here. Bring these out a little bit more. And down. A little bit more out. So I went back to object mode to see what it looks like. Get some ideas. See how the form's coming along. I go back and forth quite a bit just to see how things are coming. I go back to the point mode, or we can see what we're doing here. So I'm going to cut this section out now. Hit the tab key here. Get a little bit better control. And I really don't like this line, so I'm going to undo that. And delete this. We're going to use the regular line tool. So again, we're going to pull this out to the side here at an angle. And that one could be straight down. Now I get to select these 2 points. So let's go and select each of these points. Make sure it's the right ones. So hit the B key and pull this out. So it's nice and smooth. Hit OK. Cool. Now let's go and select this section and this section. We're going to hit the cutter. And we'll select that and hit OK. And we can delete these 2 sections. Cool. So now we're really starting to go in and actually add some forms to this now. So we went ahead and mirrored the right side to the left side. And now we're going to actually mirror the main sphere itself, so it cuts it out. And of course, merge these together. So select them both, hit QQ, hit OK. Now let's go ahead and select the face of the center sphere. All right, so I went ahead and select the center section here. And I'm actually going to hide these other two out of my way so I see what I'm doing. And now all the points still show, even though I cut some sections out, which is kind of weird, but it does. And I'm going to select some of these points now. Select these very center ones, as I'm doing here, and deselect the ones on the top, the three sections there, and those as well. And the ones in the back. Now let's go and rotate this with the R key. So I'm going to bring this to the bottom here with the V key. I'm going to actually rotate it right there, right on the edge. Bring it in, hit OK. I'm going to do a little bit more tightening with these things. So I'm going to actually scale in the inner section, the one's already selected, but with the actual Y outward. Just to give some interesting shapes. So you got to select these ones, unselect them basically. Unselect those as well. Now these we could pull in just to give, again, more forms. Hit OK. So I deselected those. I'm going to let these go and pull these downward. Again, we're just giving some variations. Let's pull this in toward the X and also down on the Z. Okay, now we're in the front view. Go ahead and select a few more sections here. Make sure you hit the Shift key. I hit the capital by accident. All right, so now we got these two sections selected. Let's hit the G key. And let's move these in a little bit and down. All right, so about right about there. Looks good. And let's hit the OK button. Okay, now we can deselect that side, and let's just work on this one side. Let's pull this out with the scale. So it's a little tighter. And again, we're going to use the G key to move this down a little bit on the Z. And hit the OK. Let's go select these points here in the top section here. Kind of help float this inward toward the hole that we just created. So bring this down. So we've got these four sections now selected. I'm going to pull that in a little bit and a little bit higher to give it a nice little lip there. I'm not so worried about the right side. I'm going to actually mirror this over. All right, so let's get back on this piece here. Let's adjust a little bit more. So again, let's select these two sections there, those 2 points, and these 2 points. And we're going to hit the G key or scale key. We're going to scale this up. We're going to use the V key. Kind of get this on the center line right there, just like that. Cool. Now we can pull this out. So we're going to use a line here to help us determine exactly the position of this scale. So now that I got the line here, again, I'm going to make sure we get these points selected. Basically all 4 of them. Make sure I select both of them so I get all 4 points there. Okay, now I got that selected. I can use this line to help me get this lined up properly. So go ahead and hit the V key, and this position is right in the center. And then we can just pull that right in, right along that section here. Perfect. Now we're going to hit the G key and move this as well. Again, V key, we'll bring it right to the axis. Cool. We can bring this down that direction on the red, and then also a little bit on the green, and a little bit more on the red. a little bit too close to that side, so I'm going to do that. So again, let's go ahead and pull this down a little bit. About right there. Okay, so we got the line now. Let's use the green section, bring it down. And the red a little bit inward. And there we go. That's a lot nicer. Right, hit the OK button. So now we can select these points here. You tighten this up a little bit more. Make sure you get the right points though. And this one over there on top. Yeah, maybe not. I think we're going to go with these right here. Okay, now I'm going to use the V key to move that over. That's tight. And it's going to select these ones here. And that one as well. Hit the G key. I'm going to move this over as well. And we're going to select on a line here to make it easier. Again, go back to the point mode. And let's select those points again. So those and those over there as well. Perfect. And that one too. Hit the G key, use the V, line it right up with the center there, and now we can bring it inward. Great, that looks good. A bit more of an edge to it. So I'm just going to select these 2 points there, and these 2. And that one as well. And let's pull this away a little bit closer to the inner edge. This gives it a nice little curvature there. I think that looks good. All right, so hit the OK button, and let's go ahead and hit that little point right there. Move this back a little bit. It's too close to the inside of that. I think that looks better. All right, great. So hit the OK now. And let's go and select these 2 points here. Let's bring these up as well with the G key. Bring this up. About there. And a little bit in. And we can bring that up a little bit more. Just like that. Get closer to the edge here. Get a nice little lip there. Cool. So let's go back to the actual object mode. And we can see on the front here, the shape looks really cool. I think we'd like to now mirror that over to the other side. So make sure you select the object itself, hit the mirror, and now hit the left side. And now that the right side is exactly as left, as well as now I select both and hit Q twice. You could also have done it on that first selection when you did the actual mirror. Okay. So let's go and select the rectangle tool with the center, and we're going to pull this out to about right there, down the center basically, and now we're going to select the points that we just created. And one thing we need to do is move this closer in, so let's go ahead and move it with the G key, and now let's go and select these points. And we can scale these in a little bit, just give some variation. Hit the OK. Now we could delete this, get out of the way. Now select these points, and we can select these first. Hit the B key. And this actually added a little bit of roundness to this. Right about there. Hit the OK. Cool. Now let's go down to the bottom. We're going to do the same thing there. Hit the 2 points. Actually, we're going to scale this up first. Let's scale this up. Hit the S key and scale. Now hit the B key, and now let's rotate this and make it a little bit of a chamfer. And now we can hit these points and now add in a fillet. So now we got all these four selected now. Hit the B key again. Again, just a little bit on this one, on the plus. Right there. All right, hit OK. Cool. Now that we got this, let's go ahead and select the face tool, face selection. And we're going to select that right now and hit the E key, and we're going to bring that in. The center axis, hit OK. Now select Object Tool, and we're going to select the main one that we just created, as well as the big sphere, and hit Q, and then Shift Q, and hit OK. All right. So now we can select this piece here and delete it, and this piece here and delete it. Now let's go ahead and select the inner piece that we just brought in or set up, and we'll pull this out with a little bit of a chamfer on this one. And now select this with the Alt key, and select the inner piece with the Alt key. And it's going to pull this out. We did on a plus. Give a nice little smooth edge there. Okay, now let's go ahead and hit the circle tool, and we're going to hit the center of this. Let's go ahead and go to the right view though. And again, if you can't get a good lineup, I use the line tool to do this. You can line up to wherever you think you need to put it. Right there is good. Now we could put the circle right there on that tip. Pull this out. It's about right there. All right. We get the G key, move it out with the red, which is X. Hit OK. Let's go ahead and go to Face Tool, select that, and bring it in. So pull it right through into the space. Hit OK. All right, it's coming along. So now let's rotate this a little bit. I think I want to get this a better angle. So make sure you select the Object Tool. Or Line Tool is fine. I'm sorry. Face selection is fine. You could also move it with that with the G key. So let's get this in a better rotation. So make sure you go to the side here. And we're going to actually use the G key, and we're going to hit the V key to move this out a little bit. And now we're going to rotate a little bit more, right about there. Now again, hit the V key. We'll get this lined up right there. And now we can bring it in. Hit OK. So select the Object Tool, and then select the circle, and we're going to disk. We're going to cut that out. So now we can select the Line Tool, select this section, pull this out. It's with the chamfer. And we'll select these two pieces here. And again, we'll hit the B key and pull this out a little bit on the plus as a fillet. Let's go ahead and hide those lines. Okay, now we can unhide these two sections. And rotate this in a little bit. Okay, so let's go select all three objects. We're going to do Q twice, and then hit OK. And now all three sections are actually merged together. So let's go select this line, and this line here, hit the B key. And let's pull this out on the plus. It has a little bit of difficulty in this section here because of the cuts that we have in the center section, but we'll get as close as we can. We might dial this a little bit tighter. We want to make sure it actually accepts the changes. If it keeps thinking and doesn't go through, then sometimes you need to dial it down a little bit. And I'm just going to bring this down a little bit more. 0.04. Again, 0.04. See if that takes it. Let's see if this accepts it. So let's go down a little bit more. We go to 0.035. Tab. Okay, so I went ahead and accepted that. That looks good. All right, so now we're going to get the sphere and actually bring this in. I'm going to use to cut out the intersection of that bottom piece there. So let's bring it up closer. And again, let's get it to the side here so we can see what we're doing. And we're going to scale this up with the S key. We want it big enough so it actually, when we cut it out, it actually looks like it's correct. So I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to hit OK. And we're going to mirror this over to the other side. So select the actual object tool, select the sphere. So now we mirrored that over, we hit the OK. Now let's go ahead and hit Q. I'm going to Q one time. So we delete both of those from the actual piece there. And we got some nice cuts underneath this section. Cool. Now we go to line tool and we can select this line here and the other side as well. Hit the Alt key, Alt Shift key, and then let's pull this out. Going to get a little bit of nice roundness to this with the fillet. Not too rounded. It's about right. Hit OK. Actually, we're going to use the rectangle tool to bring this out. So let's bring this out a little bit. This time we're going to hit the, I'm going to actually scale this up a little differently. So let's select the bottom here. Hit the S key on the bottom and just pull that out at an angle. Now we select the object tool. And then we can actually zoom out a little bit, see what we're doing. Let's first select these 2 points here though. We're going to make sure that's more rounded. So hit the B key to fillet this in the positive. There you go. Okay. Select the object, hit the cutter, and let's go and select this, hit OK. Now that's done, we can cut out the center piece. Here we go. Let's go and select these, delete them. And we select this around this area here. Pull it out a little bit on the plus. So it's more of a smooth roundness. About right there. This one's a little tricky, so we're going to use the actual other section here to make the rectangle. So we're going to select it to the side and out. And now that we've created that section there, we can actually select the face here. Actually, let's go and select the line. Let's bring it back a little bit more. On the X, there we go. Hit OK. And then we could actually hit select the face. Actually, we'll select these 4 points first and we'll do again another fillet. So hit the B key, make it more rounded. There we go. That'll look nicer. Easier to do it now than later. Now let's go ahead and select the actual face tool. First, let's rotate this a little bit, get a better position on the actual angle here. I think there looks better. A little bit off still. Let me tighten this down a little bit more. A little bit there, right there. Hit OK. There we go. That looks better. Now we select the line tool, or the face tool actually, and we're going to actually extrude this. Hit the E, and we'll bring it through all the way into the intersections of that piece. Once you got it in place, hit OK. And we can actually mirror this to the other side. Hit OK. Now we can select the object itself, select both of these pieces here, hit the Q key, hit the Shift Q. We could use that to add in that variation. Now let's select the outer pieces and let's delete those. Delete, delete, and then also the line. Get rid of that as well, delete. Now we can select these sections here on the edges and kind of pull this out a little bit. Let's show lines, make it easier. All right, there we go. I'll select this line. Let's pull these out. Not a lot, just a little bit on the plus. 0.004. There we go. We can bring it a little bit. Okay. Now we select these edges on both of these. Same with this one. And still select this one now. So select both sections. Pull this out. And we're also going to go on the plus on this one. This is a smidgen. Right about there. Cool. Hit OK. Now we can hide the lines. See what it looks like. Yeah, I think the overall shape's looking good. Got a few things we got to fix, of course. Let's go select this piece here, delete it, and here. That's part of that piece there. And we can delete this little piece right here. Hit the delete key. There we go. We can actually pull those pieces in. The face tool. Select face. We can bring that in. So it's close to the edge. There we go, right about there. Hit OK. Same with the other side. Not exact, but it's good enough. Hit OK. You're not going to see that anyway with the blades going. All right, since I brought this actual propeller system in from another model that I created in the past, that I recreate this for everybody so they can figure out how to do this, to be able to create this object or something similar. So let's get going. So I'm going to hide everything but that. And I could hide all these other ones. There's no need for these things. I just want to keep one object. Hide. All right, so now we got this object here. And basically all it is a cylinder that's been cut down a little bit and changed, as well as some blades and a top piece and a rotated section to hold it together. So very simple. All right, so for those that don't want to have to make the model and just want to do the texturing later when I go to the next Blender version, which will be texturing it and setting it up and all that good stuff. I'll be putting all this stuff on my Patreon page for those that want to go there and actually be able to just download the stuff and follow along that way. And it's just $1 for the subscription for the basic. Anyway, it helps me continue to drive this stuff. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to create something similar to this, not exact, but close. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to go to the top view here, and basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and hide this for now. And we'll do something similar to that. Again, we can figure this all out afterwards, but I'm just going to go with the basic. Okay, hit the snaps here. 1 foot, just to start off with a good solid setup here. And now I have this, I can just bring this down. Let's bring it down. Something like that. And of course, we know that the top has a center open, so we can go do that first. Go back to the Z axis. I'm going to scale this down. Something like this. Hit OK. And again, we can select this and hit a cutter and use this line. Select the object, hit the cutter, and select that, hit OK. Cool. Now we can just delete this. Now I can delete this as well. And we can actually select this line here. I'm going to do a chamfer just to get a nice edge. Hit OK. And one over here. Again, a chamfer. Just gives it some variations. And I also don't want this to be so thick. I'm going to bring this back up a little bit. Something like that. And again, we can add some more detail to the edge with the chamfer. And something in here with a chamfer. So this is your inner section here, which is fine. We'll do all the fillets later. For now, just continue to drive this. All right, so what we want to do is I want to have a disc in the center here. So I'll bring this out to here. Don't want it that big, of course. And I'm going to reduce the actual radius down. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. 0.05. Something like that. Hit OK. And we can just select this and move it down. Now what we can do is we can copy this. Actually, Shift D. We can scale this up. Bring this up a little bit bigger, like that. Then we could also use this tool here. We can bring this out a little bit, something like this. And we can also select this object now and hit this cutter, like that. Hit OK. And we can delete that piece. Now what we can do is, to our simplicity, is just bring this down. We'll bring it down a little bit more, something like this. I think that'll look good. And then we can actually select this object now and bring it up. G key, up, something like that. And then we could also scale it down. Now, if we're looking at this, I want to see through the edges. So it's going into the space, which is what we want. Okay. We can actually scale it down just a little bit more. Something like this. Cool. Now what we can do is, again, bring this down a little bit more. And we could also go in and say hide. And again, we can go ahead and work this inside sections here. We'll do, again, a chamfer. And then we can also select these again, these inner pieces. Select that one, hit the B key, pull this out. There we go. All right, now we can unhide this. And we can first select this object here, add this object, and hit the Q key. And now make a nice little detail in the center of this. Cool. Now we can select this section here. We can rotate it out like more of a cylinder or rounded ball, something like that. Now we can select these and just add a little bit of a fillet there. Just a small amount. Hit OK. Now for the bottom section, same thing. We can add some detail here. Add a little bit of a chamfer. And then again, let's select these two lines here. And we can add a fillet there. There we go. Just give us some variation, basically. So now what I want to do is I want to actually bring this down to the center. So it's the G key. And we're going to bring it right down to that center line right there. This gives it a nice position. Cool. So that's one piece. Now to the blades. All right, so let's get going on the blade. So I want to actually use this to help my understanding of where we're at here. I'm going to create something like this. I want to get it right to this edge here and a little bit of section there. And I'm going to do something like this. And then to the end here. Cool. Now we could actually use these points to help us drive some detail. So hit the B key, and we can make this nice and rounded here. And again, we can hit these, B key, same thing. On the plus, just like that. And B key. Just to give it some variations. And then here too, B. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to get this blade here and actually bring it down with the G key. So bring it into place. And again, I can scale this down just a little bit. I want to make sure it doesn't basically get too close to this edge here. Okay. So now what we can do to make it simple is we can delete this. And we can go back to the top view here and line this up. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this over here as my baseline for a nice cut into the shape. And I want to make sure that I go straight out like that, just like that. And what I'm going to do is actually now go ahead and go back out here, just like this. And again, we're just going to, it doesn't really matter. We're just going to create something like that. And again, we can use this. We'll bring this down into the space, hit OK. Now we can select this line here and delete it. We can select this object here, and we can actually go ahead and hide this for now, and this. And we can bring this up with the G key, kind of like this. And what I do now is rotate this. So we're going to go to the side view here, and we're going to rotate this with the V key right on the edge here. And we're going to rotate this downward into the space. Something like that. I'm going to also go back and hit this and bring it up a little bit higher. I want to make sure I get a really nice sharp blade. So let's go ahead and, now that we've moved that up, G key, we'll bring this back down. Actually, select the object, hit the G key, and we can bring it down to the edge here. We could also, I want to make sure this goes all the way through, so we're going to hit the G key and bring it all the way up to there. This way it cuts the edge completely. I think that'll be good. Just like that. And what we can do now is say, okay, and we select this object. Now this one, hit the Q key, and that gives you that nice edge. Hit OK. And, I'm going to undo that. I want to make sure that Q key, keep tool this time. Hit OK. And then what I can do is rotate this. So we can select this object here, hit the R key, and let's rotate it 180 degrees. So go ahead and tape it in, hit the G key, and we're going to move this over here. Kind of like in the center of this space, right? This way you can have two edges that are sharp, basically. And we can bring this upward like that. Hit OK. And this will help us drive a nice blade. Q key. Hit OK this time. And there we go. Now what we can do to make it look smoother is select this line here and pull this out on the plus. Give it a nice smooth edge. So we got some thickness and you got some tightness. So now that we got everything selected here, everything's been smoothly rounded, so we're good with that. So let's go ahead and select the all the way around, and we can pull this out. Just give it a little bit of a roundness to it, not a lot. That's good. And same at the bottom. Bring this out just a smidgen. There we go. I think that looks cool. I think it would have been better if I had a little bit more of an edge here too. I don't think we're going to even see that part, but we could have added a little bit more of a rotation there. Yeah, anyway. anyway, I'm good with this. Again, you're going to be in a shroud. You're not going to even see this. It's more of a representation of what we're trying to create here. So let's go ahead and select this and delete it. Let's go ahead and unhide these two shapes here. And we can get rid of this, delete. Now that we have this, it's real simple to create a bunch of these. So automatically you get 8, right? I'm going to go ahead and hit the center there. I'm going to increase this down to like, I think 8's perfect actually. That fits just right. Hit OK. So there we go. Now, if you wanted to make, and this is for an example, I want to give you an option here. It goes, whatever, it makes things work the way you want it to, of course. I'm going to hide this for now. But if I wanted to, I could have actually created just a simple box right here. So we can do this right now. Create a box, right? And I could bring this down. Don't need it that high. Something like that. Hit OK. And what we could have done, if you change your mind, of course, and you want to do something different, you can hit the G key here, bring this over here, like this, rotate it on the green, which is the Y, and then hit the G key, and we can bring this down. You got to make sure it extends to the point where you're past the edge here. Otherwise, you're going to have a cut there. So if that's too far out, you can always extend it. Okay. Let's go ahead and extend this so it goes past it. And one thing I would also suggest that we do is you get rid of these edges because it will cause a problem. Let me cut. So let's go ahead and select this line with the Alt key. Hit delete. Control Z. I'm going to go back a few to the point where I've just got one. And before I add those things in, all right, so before we start adding some more stuff here, we're going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to add a box here. Something like this. Way too big. Bring this in. Hit OK. And now we can do is take this box here with the object tool. Go to side view. G key. Bring in, right, about here, right? Rotate it on the Y, just like this. G key. And you can do something like this. A little bit less. Something like this. And I want to use this to help cut or drive this. So now I got this. I'm going to bring this over here. And we can use this to help drive more of a cut. So let's go ahead and select, OK. Select this object, hit the Q key. And now we got a nice blade on both edges here. What we can do is we can select this, and this. Hit the B key. We can bring this out on the plus. So it smooths it out, just like that. There we go. And we could also go back in here. Hit the Alt key, and we'll bring this out just a smidgen. There we go. And same with the bottom. Alt key. Bring that just a smidgen. Really very, very, very small. This will give us a nice looking blade, basically. Okay. So now, if you don't want to see the lines, we can see what that looks like. It gives us a nice blade effect. Cool. All right, so let's go back to unhiding this and this. And what we want to do now is that we have this created. Let's make sure this looks good. I think I might make this just a smidgen bigger. So go ahead and scale it up. I want it to kind of almost hit the, almost. And I also want it penetrating into this, right? I think that looks good. All right, so hit OK. Now that we've done this, let's go and select the object, top view. We're going to use the radial array right here on the bottom. And we're going to select the center here. I think 8's perfect. Gives us blades all the way around. And gives us a draft effect, right? I'm not worried about really cutting into this because you're never going to see that. I mean, you can do that, of course. If you want to add more details to this as well, you can. You can just go in here and select this top piece. After we say OK, you can say Shift-D. Basically create a copy of that. Scale this up with the S key twice. And we can bring it up a little bit. And then we can actually hit the G key and bring this up again. Hit OK. And now we could actually do the extrude into the space, just like that. Okay. And we can now select this object here, the Q key. Cool. Now we've got a nice little cut inside there. Hit this. Again, we're going to pull this out with a chamfer. And then again, hit these sections here, all three of them, and pull this out on the plus for a fillet. There we go. So I think that looks better. All right, so to make some things a little bit different from my existing model, I would suggest that we go in and kind of add some variations to this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the side view. I'm going to actually use this to pull out. So I'm going to use a line here. And I'm going to pull this basically over here like this. And I'll mirror this over. So we have exact line. There we go. And then we can hit the J key. We can also Shift-D this, bring this down, and we can scale this down. This way we can get a nice variation here. Just like that. And then we can just do a simple connect. And this one too. It's real easy to do. Hit the J key to join them all. And then, because I'm not going to really go too far in, I'm just going to select these two points here, hit the B key, and just bring this out with a plus. So it's nice and rounded. There we go. And now we can actually go in and select the face. And we can extrude this, right? Hit the OK button. And we can go to the top view, hit the G key, bring this into place, something like that. And then down, right into the body of this thing. Cool. So this gives it some characteristics that are a little different. Again, we can always scale this down if we want. Something like this. And I would even suggest bringing this up a little bit. This way we can get a lot more cuts into this thing. I think that will look good. Hit the OK button. Now that we got this selected, we can go back and get rid of this. Hit the delete key. And we could do the radial array again once we hit the object tool here. Select this, select the center here. Now, what I would like to do is make this a lot more aggressive. So I'm going to bring this out. Something like, let's go with 30. Hit OK. And to make this easier, I'm going to hide these. Hide. Select this. Hit the Shift key. Select these other ones. Hit the Q key. And now we got a nice detail on this shape here. All right, so that's done. Now we can actually select basically all these points here. I'm going to go ahead and select all these with the line tool. I'm going to use this to help drive some of the shapes here. And I don't need this one, so right click it. And we hit the B key, B. And again, you can do a lot more detail than this, but for now, I'm good with this. Let's pull this out just a little bit. 0.02 is good. Everything has a nice smooth edge to it. And pretty much got that wrapped up. Cool. Now we can unhide these other ones that we just did. Just like that. And we got the shape. Now, I did have kind of like a cage on here on the existing. We can do something like that if we want. I'm going to go to the front view here. And again, I'm going to create a box or a rectangle with the center snap. And I'm going to bring this out like that. The G key, bring it up. And yeah, that'll work out. We can rotate this. Like this, scale down. That, hit the G key. Whoops. We want to make sure we hit the G key and only on the red. So pull this. Bring this down into the space, so this is fine. Hit OK. Now we have an angle here. We can use that to our advantage. So now we can select this object here and hide it. Select this and extrude it just like that. And our objective is to connect to this point right here. So kind of keep that in mind. So we can actually say, okay, we can select this face here a little bit more. And we can actually go a little bit farther than that, hit OK. And now we can cut this in half. So let's go ahead and let's make this simple. A couple things I'm going to do to make this look very interesting is I'm going to start creating some dynamic cuts in here. I want it to have some shape to it. This looks cool. And we can also select these points. B key. Drive some more roundness there. Okay. B. Something like that. I think that would be cool. And I think we're going to use this for the edge here. So first we'll cut that and then the second cut. So let's go and select this. Use the cutter. Use this. Hit OK. Cool. Now we can delete this piece. That looks cool. And we could also select this now. At this kind of angle, right? We want to get to that angle right there. We want to drive this to connect. So this will be good to use the cutter. Just like that. Hit OK. Except for I'm not going to get rid of this piece. So that's great. So again, we can go to this view now and add some characteristics to this again. So we're going to do something like this. Okay, that's good. Hit the points. B key. A little bit on the plus, just like that. Hit OK. I'm going to mirror this over to the other side. So select the line. Mirror. Opposite side. Hit OK. Now we can select the object, this one. And we can hit the cutter. And we can select those two lines. About that one. Control key. There we go. And we can just delete those. There we go. Pretty cool to create different forms. And another thing that I would do on this respect is I would go ahead and create some other cool shapes inside here, just to give it some dynamic feel to it, like it's meant to be. Again, it's definitely going to have some cool looks to this. So let's go ahead and select these. This one, B. Oops, plus like that. This for sure. These are too sharp. B. Something like that. B. Just a little bit there. And these here, B. Just to get a nice shape going here. Okay, so everything's rounded. That's great. So now we can select this object here. And we could use the cutter again. Let's go and select this. Hit OK. And that's it. Hit delete. Now we got some pretty solid shapes. I will do something on the end here, though. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to merge these together. Select both of them. Hit QQ. Hit OK. All right. So what we can do is go to the side view. And again, we can do something like this. I just think that's too wide. I don't want it that wide. Okay, let's hit the points here. Two that are inside. B key. Bring this out a little bit on the plus. Hit the OK. All right, and we can mirror this to the other side. Hit OK. Now we select the object. Let's go ahead and use the cutter. Select this one and hit Shift. Hit this one and hit OK. And we can delete those pieces. Now we got some pretty crazy shapes here, but we can just select these edges. Hit the Shift key. Hit all four of these. Cool. Let's pull this out. Make this nice and rounded. Just like that. I think that looks good. Same thing here. It's too sharp here. The plus. Hit OK. Just trying to get something that looks cool. And you could also do a disc here, if that makes more sense. We could actually, or what we can do, is we can use this to help drive. So what we can do is take this line here, go to the side view, like that, hit points, and let's move this over a little bit. G, bring it right into this right there. And this you can bring back a little bit. G, right into the space, just like that. Now what we can do is we can hide this. Hide this. We can delete this. Delete. Delete. And what we can do now is just bring a disc there. Let's hit the center spot right here. We'll bring it out like this. Now, if it goes along the line here, perfect. If not, we could rotate it. So let's go ahead and hit this face, select this, and we're going to use the actual Sweet. Select this line. That's it. Boom. Now we can select the line here and delete this piece. I think that looks good. And now we can go in and re-unhide this right here and this piece. I think I'm going to end up keeping this. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this one here. Like rounded. And then this back piece, same thing. Kind of like that. I think that's going to look good. Also would like to add in a little bit of like it's meant to be. So we can actually now, let's go and select this first and this one. Hit QQ again. Twice, hit OK. Now what we can do is we can actually go to the side view here. I'm going to create kind of a thickness on both ends. So I'll use the line tool here. Something like that. Hit the Shift D, G, and bring this over here. Just like that. All right, I kind of want to rotate this a little bit. Just a little bit. Like about there. Hit OK. And what we can do now is we can select this object and we can hit the cut right here. I'm going to keep this piece. Do the same thing here, but I want to rotate this as well. So I want this to be more representative of the angle. So something like that. Cool. All right, so if we select this now and use the cutter, here we go. Boom. Cool. So now we got this. We can scale this up with the S key. Bring it up. Control Z. What I'm going to do, scale key, and I'm going to use the V key so I can get this lined up perfectly. Scale. Bring this up. And on the blue axis, which is your Z, I'm going to put down 0. So Z is the last one. I actually keep it at 1. Hit OK. Cool. Same thing here. Scale. V key. Let's get it right to the center here. Scale again. Bring it up. And it's right on the edge, so that's perfect. Hit OK. So now that we got that done, we can take these 3 pieces, QQ, so they merge together. There we go. Now we can do is add some details to this and this. Bring this out as a fillet. Not too much. For some reason this did not take, so let's undo. So we got to make sure that these are connected. Do one of these at a time, I guess. Select the line. Go a little bit out like that. Hit OK. Same thing here. We'll go like that. Cool. And then we can do something like this. We get a nice transition there. And here too. It's a nice soft roundness there. All right, so let's select this one and this one. Just going to add a small fillet so it's not sharp. Just like that. Perfect. Hit OK. All right, now we can actually go in. And just for simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and take this object, hit the Q, heat tool, hit OK. Now that we've done that, we can go in here and we can use this to help us drive this little section there. Okay, cool. Now a couple more things I'd like to do. I'd like to kind of clean up the edge here. So let's go and select this. So hit the Alt key. It went all the way around, which is what we want. And we select the other side too. Shift Alt. Let's go and pull this out. Make it kind of more rounded looking. I think that looks better. And then same thing here. I want to make sure that I clean this up. A little bit more rounded. Just like that. This one too. Try to get everything kind of rounded inside so when I do the actual pull out, it's exactly what we need. Okay. All right, so select the inner pieces. Alt key. First select this one, actually. Alt key. Shift. Hold down Alt. Hit the B key. It's right there, actually. Let's pull this out. Not too much. Just want to drive a little bit of smoothness. That looked good. All right. Coming together. So let's go ahead and select this one here. Delete it. And this is one way to make a cage. And we'll go back in and cut these into these spaces later. All right, so let's go back to hiding this. And let's do the radio array. And we're going to select the center of this. Like that. Now, how many do we want to hold this space together? You can do as many as 30. You can do less. I'm going to go less. Just like to drive some different shapes here. Kind of like that one too. 12. It's like I want to make sure it has enough thickness to it. I definitely don't want it to be exactly as the blade. I think I'll go with 10. Hit the OK. And now that we've done this, let's go ahead and select this first and select these 10 pieces. Make sure you get all of them, not the blade. We're going to hit the Q key. We're going to hit Keep Tools, hit OK. There we go. Now that we've got that, we can go back in and select each of these little sections here. All 10 of them. Again, what's great about this is that we can use this somewhere else if we wanted to later on. Once you create something that you like. All right, there we go. So now I got all those selected. I'm going to pull this out just a little bit. On the plus, actually. I'm going to give it more of a roundness to it. Hit OK. I think that looks cool. So let's go and take this, make this maybe red. And we can deselect everything. Yeah, I think that looks really cool. Has some good variations to it. I think the only thing that we have not done is cut into the actual fairing as well. So we can do that now. Select this. You can select each of these. Each of these top sections, right? Now, if you want to make it look like it belongs and you're actually, got these forms that are connected, then you can just do a QQ and then redo the connection to each piece. Or we can add it in as if it's going into the shroud. I personally think it would be better into the shroud because it's kind of like its own object. It'd be too much of one object to make that into one form. This doesn't seem right to me. So I'm going to hit the Q. Again, Keep Tool, hit OK. Takes a second. Now to make things easier, I'm just going to go ahead and select these upper pieces and hide them. And now we got the forms. So let's go and select each of these. Just all we need to do is really select one. Hit the Shift key because they're all rounded, right? Make sure we select them all. And move around a little bit. You can deselect this one, right? I use the mouse wheel a lot. Okay, I think we got them all. Let's pull this up. Not too much. Just want to give it, actually we can do a little bit of a chamfer here. Looks like it's going to cut into it that way. Just pull out just a smidgen. I think that looks good. 0.01. Hit OK. We can select this now and delete it. Cool. Now we can then hide all this stuff. Now my suggestion on all this is to put it all in its own group, because it'll just make it that much easier to select it later on. So select them all, hit Control G, and now we can call this blade. All right, so now that we got this, I'm just going to select this whole thing and hit the G key, get it out of the way. I'm just going to bring this up out of the way completely so it's easier to see what I'm doing. Okay, to make things easy, I went ahead and created and put all the drone main stuff into its own folder with Control G, just to make it simpler. And also have this whole thing in the blade section, right? So to work this out, you would want to just basically move this out of the way. So let's just say we don't have this. You can hide it. And I'll show you how to place this. Hide. Hide all these. Now this has a weird piece here, which I'm going to delete because that was a problem. Same with this one. And hide. Cool. And we can also hide this. So delete that. And basically what we would do now is we would take this object here and we'd go to the side view and we hit the G key and we'll move it into place like this, right? And now that we have this in place, we would scale this down with the S key twice. And we'll bring this down just like that. And then we'll hit the G key and move it a little bit into place over onto the side. Again, a good thing to do would be go on the G key so you can see exactly what you're doing. And we want this to be kind of centered, so we kind of need to move this a little bit over here. Just like that. And there you go. That's as simple as it gets to add this blade. Now we can bring this down into the space to cause more variations if you wanted to. There's just so many things you can do with this. And if you have some, like, see, it's a little deeper on the side, so we know that we got to bring it over a little bit this way. So it's more accurate from each other. Again, on the side too, same thing. We know that this can go in a little bit. You just got to play with it to position it right. So that's how you create the blade sections. And to do the bottom, you do the same thing. We would basically bring it down to the bottom here and rotate it. And I'll show that as well. So I'm going to hit the OK. I'm good with that. And I'm going to hit this too, hide it. And I'm going to select all these here. Make sure you get them all selected. We can also hide these. So out of the way. Hide. Let's just get these out of the way. So we can select this again. And we're going to duplicate this. So we're going to hit the Shift D. It's going to take a second. We can bring this down. And I know it's flipped upside down, right? So we can go to the, let's go with the X view here. And we're going to rotate this. And we're going to go exactly 180 degrees just to get the base of this lined up. Hit enter. And let's say, for instance, we did not have this, right? I'm going to hide it. I'm going to, first of all, put these in its own folder. See these and this one. I'm going to do a Control G, so it's all in its own folder. And it's in 8. So if I hide this, right? Cool. So those are all there. And I can bring this out from the main. Put it right here. We can call this blade 1. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and to make things easier, I'm going to go ahead. This is the main shape, right? So I'm going to unhide this. And I'm going to select this whole thing. Make sure you get everything selected. Go to the side view here and hit the G key. I'm going to move this into place right about, kind of like right about there. We're going to rotate this with the red. And we're going to make sure that it evens itself out between these spaces. So the bottom here is about the same as this right here. You could put a line here to make it simple. That's another way to do it. Now that we've got this in the space, we're going to scale this up. First of all, hit the S twice. Bring it up. Cool. Now, one thing we can do is hit the G key twice, and we can move it down. And again, I want to make this as big as this hole here. So we're going to scale it down, scale it up again. Hit SS. Something like that. Now we realize that we got to move this over, of course. So hit the G key. One more time. And we're going to make sure we get to the edge here. Just like that. And to me, it's still a little small. So SS again. There we go. Back to side view here. G key. One more time. I'm trying to get this lined up so it actually is perfect. Now, as you can see, it needs to be rotated a little bit more. So what I'll do here is hit the R. I'm going to hit the F key. I'm going to put this right here. And I'm going to put it right here and then bring it inward a little bit. Just like that. There we go. Hit OK. Now, I think that is cool. It does kind of fit that position. And you can cut it in if you want or leave it just freestanding like that. Whatever you prefer. And all you do with that now is that we've got this created, the blade. You can actually select everything. Right click on this. Go back to the front view here and mirror this over to the other side. Just like that. Cool. And then same thing here. What we can do now is go and select this. Again to the front view. Mirror it to the other side. Hit OK. So now I'm going to select these main sections here with the face selection. So I'm going to have the whole thing here selected, right? As well as the other side. I want both of these selected. The lines are fine. It's not a big deal since I split it, but this way we can actually select both of these. So select one, select the other, hit the Shift key. And then I'm going to do a Shift D here. So Shift D, and now I've created the actual object, or the shell of this object, which is cool. Now what I can do is actually select the main object underneath. Actually, just select this, hide it. Now we got the main shell here. I'm going to hide these as well. And this can be deleted. There's no need for this piece here. That can be deleted. And so there you go. Now you got your shell. And we can also hide this piece. So there we go, the shell. And normally I would thicken this, but the problem with that is it's because it's continually a circle, like all the way around. When I try to thicken it, it does not work. It gives me a problem because there's all these intricate little cuts and turns, and it just won't work for what I want it to do. So the next thing is let's go and hide this as well. Just focus on this. And what I want to do is now just cut out some sections of this so I can use it, basically. So one thing I'm going to do here, just to make it easier, so I can separate the two sides of this actual round disc model, or I guess you call it a sheet. We can go to the side view here, and this is go and use the rectangle tool. I'm going to select it and pull this out basically right here, and something like that. So we can cut both sides out. That's all I'm going to use this for right now. So again, once I created this, I could select this now and use the cutter and go ahead and select this and then cut those two sections out. Now that you've done that, you can actually select these two areas here and delete them. And now we can actually use the line tool to do the next part. Okay, so now I've got the actual blades unhidden, but I'm going to rehide these two pieces here. So let's go ahead and hide these two sections. And now we can use the line tool. And again, the points show back up, which is fine. So I'm going to start bringing this out and creating this form. And basically, I'm going to go right to the center of the edge here. And then I'm going to go back in and select these points and add a little bit of fillet to these two. So let's go ahead and do that. Hit the B key, and this rotate it out on the plus so it's nice and smooth. Hit OK. Cool. Now we can use this to cut half this body out. So let's go ahead and do that. Cut out that section there. Cool. Now we can just mirror that whole thing over to either side so it's exactly the same on the other side. That way you don't have to do it, don't need to worry about the other edge here. So that's cool. Right now I'm going to merge this together, QQ. And now I could use the thicken tool to kind of pull this out. Make sure it's on the plus so it actually sticks out instead of inward. And now that we did that, let's go ahead and select these edges all around and let's make it nice and rounded on those edges to make it look nicer. So select each edge, the intersections, these as well, that one, those two over there. Make sure you get the right ones. And I forgot the one on the top right, or top left. Now let's go ahead and do the inner pieces and the other inner piece here and pull those out. Just make sure you do the upper one as well, even though I forgot on mine. So pull this out on the plus. So there's a nice edge on it. Hit the OK button when you're done. All right, cool. That looks a lot nicer, but you can see that top little piece is missing that little edge there because I didn't actually capture that by accident. But I redid it on mine. So now let's go and select the back piece now, and we're going to do the same thing. Let's go ahead and use the thicken to thicken that out. That makes sense. All right, so again, just make those corners all smooth and round. So make sure you select all the hard edges. This way, when you do the actual fillet, it works properly all the way around. So let's make sure you get all those sections. You can't get something, just zoom in. And then the bottom pieces, same thing. You need to get these four of here. Let's hit these four as well. So select these four. That one, that one. And let's turn this around a little bit. Right click, actually control click that one. Select it again. And this one too. Now we can pull these out on the plus. Not too much, just enough to make it nice and round. All right, cool. Hit OK. All right, now we can actually select some of these other pieces, like the top piece and the bottom. Let's add a little bit of fillet there as well. And this will go around the whole thing because we did all the edges. Hit OK once you're done. All right, now we got the outer piece. So this is the first phase of this object. Next, I'll be going into Blender to actually add in all the details and render it and set up the blades with the animation, and the movement of the actual unit itself will be on the next video. I'll be taking this into another video where I actually possibly might add in, if I get enough views on this and likes, I'll continue to build this out with the third version to make it even more sci-fi looking with more details. And yeah, just subscribe and continue to follow my channel so you can see these things as I progress. Now, if you want to see these things also, it'll be on my Patreon page if you want to download the actual objects themselves, as well as OPJs of this stuff, so you can follow along, and the plasticity file as well. All right, so next part will be to actually export this out. All right, for exporting purposes, I thought I'd throw this in as well. So if you're going to select the whole thing here, make sure everything's selected, make sure all your objects are here. This is my method. Other people might have other ways, but this is what I like to do personally. So I'm going to select the down arrow here. I'm going to go to the export section here. And you can bring this in through Blender or whatever as well, but this is my preference, I guess you call it. So I'm going to call this drone new and hit the save. Then when it comes up, it's going to come up normally with tries. It's normally commonly set up always for this to show up as tries. I'm going to go with ingons. And once it's done calculating, it kind of throws it back out at you. I always go with density of 1 just because I like the quality of more detail of my edges. So always go to 1. That's what I do. I also go to min width. So I'll select this. And when I select this, normally it will become more blocky because it's set to like a lower standard again. See how blocky that is now that it showed up? Now, what I normally do here is I do 0.003 or 4 is what I normally start with. If I need to do farther down, I will. I'm going to go 0.003. And this gives us enough information to add a lot more detail to this. I think this is enough detail for sure. So mix width, I select this normally, and normally set to 1 is the standard. I normally go down a little bit on this, but if there's enough detail here already, like it is now, I don't need to go to any lower than what it is. So that doesn't really matter on this specific one, but normally I would actually go to 0.01 or something like that in most cases. Depends on the scale of the object and other things. So hit the OK button. And once it's done, let it keep going. Don't do anything until it completely calculates everything out. Then you'll go back to the normal standard view. Now that it's at the standard view, you're good. It's been exported. And that's it for this video. So join me for the next one. Thank you.